Friends, Jenna, sinful celluloid. What's the stuff? The Devil's Nightmare. We begin. Berlin, 1945. Bombs are dropping, and we're in an underground bunker of some sort. A baroness is in the midst of a very difficult, very painful childbirth. Her husband, the Baron, who looks an awful lot like Ronald Reagan, he's worried. He's smoking, but he's not worried for the reason we think. The caretaker comes in and is like, "I'm sorry to report that your wife is dead." "I don't care about my wife. Is the baby a boy?" "Yeah, no such luck on that front either. Ron, baby's a girl." He orders her to get to safety along with his henchman. I think the guy's name was Hans. Ronald Reagan, gives the baby a name, then whips out a dagger and stabs the baby through the stomach. Cut to, all of a sudden he's in some sort of castle and he's chatting with a woman who just blatantly is like, "So, family curse you say? Cool, can I check out your castle? Can I take pictures? Can I snoop?" "No, I would prefer that you didn't know." 2 seconds later, that bitch is out there with her Nikon, snapping away. She books it to her car, is about to get in when someone legit throws a trident at her and hits the tire, and it busts and she can't go anywhere. She flees for her life. Boom, someone comes up behind her and she must be devil snacks. We're off to a real hell of a start. Cut to the town. They bring the dead body in. Some rando's like, "Yeah, we found her corpse up on Ronald Reagan's castle property. She's got a mark on her arm. You know what that means. It's the sign of the devil. The succubus is back." Dun dun dun. Thunder rolls. Cut to our main peeps. It's a bunch of suits, couple of ladies, and a priest in a tour bus. The road is blocked. Just so happens, Nosferatu's out in the field burning a pile of leaves. They decide to ask him for directions. He's like, "You're never gonna make it. You have to take a ferry." You know what you should really do? Back through the town, there's a super creepy castle. Go up there. A lot of times Baron von Ronald Reagan lets people crash there if you just hand them a little cash. So they head to the castle. They pull up. Yes, it does look super creepy. Yes, we should stay here. Butler shows up. Guess who Butler is? Hans, welcome to the castle. Let me show you to your quarters. Priest, here's your room. See that image drawn into the brick there? It's a sign of the devil. That just kind of showed up when a lady who was having an exorcism here slaughtered the priest who was performing the ritual. Cranky old dude, here's your room. "Oh, it's so stuffy." "Yeah, well, that's because your windows are bricked up. We had to do that when somebody had an accident and fell out the window, so deal with it." Husband and wife get shown to their room. "Just so you know, a prince and a princess were slaughtered here, had their throats slit, but I'm sure nothing like that'll happen to you." The two ladies who are left are like, "We don't want us to stay in separate rooms. We're really scared. Could we share a room?" "Yeah, sure." Puts him in a shared room. Cool. Cut to the laboratory. It is a castle. There is a laboratory. Baron von Ronald Reagan's down there doing some experiments. Looks like he's making some Kool-Aid and maybe some gold. Cool! Cut back to the ladies. Lounging in their undies. Brunette is a sex fiend, we come to find out. She puts the moves on Blondie. Blondie's like, "Cool, just run your soft hands up and down my body, and while you're at it, draw me a bath and take off my bra and wash me." So apparently it's boobs time. But they need to get ready for dinner. They get ready after they have some sex. Everyone meets in the dining room. You know you're not going to get far into dinner without some jackass being like, "Hey, Baron von Ronald Reagan, tell me about your family curse." Sure, if you insist. Thanks a lot, guys. It's not a big deal. But my ancestors signed a pact with the devil. And turns out Satan demanded that the eldest daughter in each generation must serve him and do that by being a succubus. Everyone's like, "I don't believe in succubuses. Succubuses, no, they don't real, whatever, succubuses." At that very moment, on the door, guess who shows up? A smoking hot lady. I'm gonna guess she's a succubus. A housekeeper answers the door and she's like, what are you doing here? You promised you would never come back, especially on the anniversary of... ... She's, and the lady's outside. She's like, can you just let me in? It's freaking raining, and I'm cold, and I'm smoking hot. They let her in. She shows up for dinner in a 100% inappropriate pantsuit. It's got all these cutouts. It's cool if you want to wear that stuff, but this is a dinner party. This is like a sophisticated Baron von Ronald Reagan dinner party. As she sits down, of course, talk turns immediately to like monogamy, infidelity, sexy sex times. The old cranky guy is like, can't you guys talk about anything but succubuses? I swear to God, if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me that. They finish dinner. Tour guide decides he wants to go to the bus. He forgot his snacks or something. This guy's constantly eating. And the men check the door and they realize they've all been locked in to the castle. They can't leave. But I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure that's not for nefarious, succubusy reasons. In her room, Blondie, up in her nightie, shrieks her head off because blood has dripped on her. Everyone comes running. The dudes go upstairs to check it out. It's just a cat that's been tortured and slaughtered and is dripping blood all over the place. By the way, there's a huge sarcophagus in the corner, and also he's just storing an old guillotine up here. So it's totally normal stuff that you would find in a totally normal castle attic. Smoking hot lady tries to seduce tour guide with a smorgasbord of snacks and delicacies. And then she gets him to like choke to death on his gluttony, and she sucks all the life force out of him. And here's the thing, when she turns into a succubus, it's actually terrifying. Like, it's very disturbing, the makeup they did on her. So that's number one for this movie, is very uncomfortable looking. Meanwhile, married lady has decided that because Baron von Ronald Reagan has gold downstairs in a laboratory, he's got more gold, she's gonna go find it. So she's greed. All these people are sinners. Meanwhile, her husband's a total tool, and he's gonna go cheat on her with Brunette, who just loves the sex. So while she's downstairs trying to find gold, he's upstairs banging Brunette in the attic. She dies from succubusy things. They both die, succubusy things. He gets his head chopped off in the guillotine. She gets sucked into, oh, the sarcophagus. It's not really a sarcophagus. It's an Iron Maiden. She gets stabbed to death. Also, Blondie gets killed by a snake. There's a snake in her room. She dies by a snake. Sorry. Old cranky guy is really mad at the ruckus. She comes downstairs and she tosses that bitch out the window. He's gone too. Succubus. Now she has to seduce the priest, and he will not be seduced. Priest runs. She chases after him. She's like, hey, all your friends are dead. They committed moral depravities. He puts a crucifix against her head. It smokes. She flips out. He tries to get away, and up pulls Nosferatu in a big old hearse carriage, just unloading coffins for these other dead people. He chases priest into a church. There's a church on the grounds. Succubus, you can take off. I got it handled. Priest is like, listen, how about I make you a deal? I won't save any of these souls. I'll offer you myself if you promise to give the other people who you have killed tonight, you and the succubus, their lives back. Glad you offered. And Nosferatu pulls out a contract, unfurls it, and gives him a feather quill. Guy takes it in, just jabs it into his arm, signs the contract in blood, it immediately explodes into flames, so you know, deal with the devil. Cool. Cut to morning. Priestly priest wakes up in his bed and is like, I just had the worst nightmare. Everyone is alive downstairs. They all pile into the tour bus. Let's continue on with our tour. He says, by the way, Baron von Ronald Reagan was out fencing with Hans, and he got stabbed in the chest, and I think he's gonna die. So I'm gonna stay here. I can't leave a dying man alone. They take off in the tour bus. Succubus and priest go up to the top of the castle to watch them leave. Nosferatu's got his eye on everybody, and as the tour bus weaves its way down the mountainside, it runs off the side of a cliff into a crevasse, and everyone aboard dies. And then the succubus like hugs The priest, Nosferatu, looks at her and she looks at him and they both. Scene. I'm gonna say this about The Devil's Nightmare. It had some really creepy succubus makeup. I appreciate that. It genuinely unnerved me. Lessons learned in this movie. 1. If you hear about a guy with a family curse involving a succubus, and 5 seconds later, the hottest woman you've ever seen in your life comes in an inappropriate pantsuit for dinner, run the other way, because she is a succubus and she's going to kill you. Lesson number 2, that's the only lesson. This is Jenna. Sinful celluloid beverages. The Devil's Nightmare.